Today, we're diving into a rapidly unfolding and honestly pretty catastrophic situation over in Japan. We're looking at the devastating earthquake in Kumamoto, and right now it is a literal race against time. We've got a lot of crucial on-the-ground information to get through to figure out exactly what's happening, the mechanics driving the disaster, and the massive emergency response that's currently underway. So let's just jump right in. Just take a second to wrap your head around this number, 7.1. That is the massive magnitude of the earthquake that struck Tuesday afternoon in Kumamoto prefecture, down on Japan's southern main island of Kyushu. Now, to put a 7.1 into perspective, this isn't just some heavy rumble that rattles a few dishes in the cupboards. It's a violent release of seismic energy that is basically equivalent to numerous explosive megatons detonating right beneath the Earth's crust. We're talking about a terrifying force that can tear apart solid bedrock, instantly warp the landscape, and cause incredibly intense devastation across heavily populated cities in just a matter of seconds. But before we get into the infrastructure or the science of it all, we really need to ground ourselves in the human reality here. At least 13 lives have already been lost, and that number is just a stark, sobering reminder of the sheer human cost of these disasters. Just think about it. On an ordinary Tuesday afternoon, normal routines were completely upended with zero warning. This sudden tragedy means families are fractured and entire communities are mourning right now. It reminds us that behind every single piece of seismic data, there is a very real and very painful human story. Let's look at part one, the disaster in Kumamoto and its immediate impacts. When you look at the raw data, it becomes super clear why this specific quake did so much damage. The epicenter was located roughly 12 miles south of Kumamoto City, striking right at the heart of an area with about 700,000 people. But the really crucial factor, the depth. The rupture happened only 6 miles down. In seismic terms, that is incredibly shallow, and a shallow earthquake means those massive shock waves have way less distance to travel through the Earth, so they don't lose any momentum. Instead, all that raw energy just slams directly into the surface, which drastically intensifies the shaking. It was actually so fierce that it triggered immediate panic and an initial tsunami warning, sending coastal residents running for higher ground, though thankfully that specific warning was lifted a bit later. And it's not just modern buildings taking a hit. Earthquakes of this magnitude threaten literally centuries of history. Historic structures were heavily damaged all across the prefecture. The Yatsushiro Shrine took a massive blow to its foundations. But what's really heartbreaking for the locals is the severe damage to Kumamoto Castle. This place isn't just a tourist spot, it is this profound symbol of regional pride. And what makes this so devastating is that the castle was actually still under painstaking repair from a previous highly deadly earthquake that hit this exact same area back in 2016. It's just a brutal, recurring blow for the community. Which brings us to part two, a literal race against time. Listen to this powerful directive from Japan's Prime Minister Sanae Takaichi. She said, "Even now, there are people waiting to be rescued, and this is a race against time. We will marshal all available resources on the ground to save and rescue as many people as possible." That really sets the urgent tone for the whole country right now. This isn't just a few local first responders. This is a massive coordinated national deployment. You've got thousands of rescue soldiers from the Japan Self-Defense Forces working right alongside local emergency units, actively tearing through concrete rubble with heavy machinery, and even their bare hands to find survivors. Right now, all those resources are pouring into some incredibly intense, active rescue scenes. At the Aeon Mall in Kashima, part of the main structure suffered a catastrophic collapse. And it's not just debris. Officials are desperately trying to figure out if a ruptured gas line caused an explosion there too. Tragically, 2 women in their 20s died at that site, and 4 people are still missing. Down in Yatsushiro at the Nippon Paper Factory, an enormous industrial chimney completely collapsed, leaving 7 workers missing in the rubble. But amid all this horror, there is some hope. People have actually been pulled alive from these exact sites, which is completely fueling the frantic pace of the search. But there's a massive, kind of hidden complication here. It is brutally hot. A major heat stroke warning is actually in effect right now across the disaster zone. Temperatures are reaching well into the 90s, and the humidity in Japan is punishing. Just imagine being trapped in a confined space under all that rubble in the baking sun. And for the rescue workers in heavy protective gear, they literally can't keep going indefinitely in 90-degree heat. They're being forced to work in these agonizingly short shifts so they don't collapse from heat exhaustion themselves. It's an environmental factor that significantly slows down the extraction, draining away precious time. Moving into part 3, infrastructure gridlock. It's crazy how fast a modern, bustling region can just grind to a total halt. High-speed bullet trains were suspended immediately across Kyushu, and some passengers were actually injured from the violent, sudden braking. A massive freight train derailed right near the collapsed pillars of the Yatsushiro Shrine. Commercial airport operations completely halted. On top of that, 35,000 households were plunged into darkness without power. And crucially, the local highways and main roads are severely buckled and ruptured by the shifting earth. This creates an absolute logistical nightmare, right? When roads are severed and airports are down, bringing in the heavy cranes and medical supplies needed for rescues becomes exponentially harder. And the scariest part? It's not even over. The Japanese Meteorological Agency has issued a stark warning. They are telling everyone to brace for potential intensity 7 earthquakes over the next 2 to 3 days. The psychological toll of a warning like that is just unimaginable. Survivors are sleeping in crowded, makeshift shelters, completely on edge, knowing a massive aftershock could hit at any second. And those secondary quakes are incredibly dangerous because they can easily finish the job, bringing down bridges and homes that were weakened by that initial 7.1 tremor. That brings us to part 4, the nuclear question. Whenever the Earth shakes with this kind of violence in Japan, everyone immediately thinks of nuclear safety, right? The world kind of collectively holds its breath. We all remember 2011, when a 9.1 magnitude quake and tsunami caused the unimaginable tragedy at the Fukushima Daiichi plant, leading to 3 reactor meltdowns. It's permanently etched in our minds. But today, in a huge moment of relief, the Sendai nuclear power plant in the region has reported absolutely 0 damage. The International Atomic Energy Agency officially confirmed that the reactors are completely safe, they shut down automatically just as designed, and they'll be keeping a very close eye on it. Finally, let's zoom out for part 5, the Ring of Fire. So, why is Japan always in the crosshairs for this kind of stuff? It all comes down to geography. Japan sits directly on top of the Ring of Fire. This is a massive horseshoe-shaped region wrapping around the Pacific Ocean rim, and it is absolutely the most active tectonic neighborhood on the planet. Deep underwater, these massive tectonic plates are constantly colliding, grinding, and sliding beneath each other. Over decades, they build up unimaginable friction, and eventually that pressure snaps, triggering massive earthquakes and volcanic eruptions. Japan's entire archipelago just happens to sit directly on one of the most volatile intersections of these plates. To really put that into perspective, check out this staggering statistic. 20% of the entire world's massive earthquakes measuring a magnitude 6.0 or higher occur only in Japan. Just think about that for a second. The Earth is huge, yet one single relatively small East Asian nation deals with 1/5 of the entire planet's major seismic activity. It's a jaw-dropping reality of their physical geography. Earthquakes aren't some rare anomaly there. They're a relentless, baked-in feature of daily life. Which really leaves us with one massive question to think about. As Kumamoto and all of Japan starts recovering from yet another devastating blow, how can modern engineering and preparation possibly outpace the volatile, completely unpredictable nature of the Ring of Fire? Today, we've looked at the unforgiving geography, the catastrophic damage, the human cost, and those incredible rescue operations. It really tests the limits of human resilience, and it's a challenge Japan is forced to face time and time again. Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer today and for taking the time to really unpack the mechanics and the human impact behind the headlines. Stay curious, stay informed, and I'll catch you on the next one.